Welcome to the Empowerment Minutes podcast. This is Dr. Maurine Kwende, your host. I'm a learning leader, educator, executive leadership coach, author, who's passionate about empowering leaders to become leaders people want to work for. And so this episode is really going to be talking about future readiness. But before we get started, I want to first of all welcome you all. Those who are returning listeners, welcome to the Empowerment Minutes podcast. And those who are joining for the first time, this podcast is really for topics on leadership, learning, coaching, and personal growth. I'm very excited that you're taking the time to tune in to this week's episode. So every month we pick a theme. So the theme of this month is future ready leadership and organization. So last week we talked about the future readiness reflection, 10 questions that every leader must ask. So today we're going to be talking about something that impacts every leader, including you, and that's your mindset. So the title of today's episode is Cultivating the Future Ready Mindset. So why does a mindset matter when it comes to being future ready? Let's get started on that. Because today's world, right, we know that change is constant, it's inevitable, disruption is inevitable, and so uncertainty is part of the landscape. So as a leader, your strategies, your tools, and even your team, might shift, right? So your vision might shift. And so many things, might shift. But the way that you think, respond, and lead through change is all that matters. So that is really what is most crucial here. If you have a stagnant mindset, that things cannot change, you have to be a certain type of way, then it wouldn't work, because you definitely have to be able to embrace the change, right? So that you can be future ready. So your mindset really determines your relevance tomorrow. A future mindset allows you to anticipate change, right? Instead of running away from it or, not accepting change. It allows you to create space for innovation. It allows you to lead people with empathy, even with confidence. It allows you to stay grounded when navigating change, right? Because it also brings about so many challenges. So if you're not able to embrace this mindset, then when those challenges come, you're going to be even more thrown off, right? So having that future ready mindset is really critical, because it's a mindset that is a combination of adaptability, flexibility, foresight, ongoing and continuous learning, and having that human-centered leadership, because change might happen, right? But it's about leading with compassion, empathy, leading from the heart. So when you're wanting to have that future readiness mindset, I would like you to understand that it's not about having all the answers. No one has all the answers, quite frankly. It's about having that open, observant, and mindset, and being prepared to grow. So here are some mindsets that you want to be able to consider as a future ready leader. You want to be able to have the adaptable mindset, right? Future ready leaders, they embrace change. Even when it's uncomfortable. I share that even with my various leadership cohorts, right? You got to be able to embrace change, right? It's not comfortable. Where anything that you're doing out of your comfort zone, it's uncomfortable. But that's also part of growth. So, being able to make that shift quickly, helps you to adjust and never get too attached to the ways things have always been, right? You've heard people say, we've always done it this way. We've always done it this way, right? You want to be able to have that, adaptable, flexible mindset. Ask yourself this question: do I resist change, or do I explore it with curiosity? Okay, so the next mindset that you want to think about is that of foresight. Leaders don't just should not just be they should not be reacting. They have to be proactive, right? They have to figure out what's out there, right? Scan the horizon. What's changing in your industry, what's changing in your workforce, your community. I recently attended the ATD conference, ICE conference, and it was really all about what's coming up in the future, and how as leaders we can prepare to equip our workforce. Right, it's about looking at what are these trends, what's the data saying, what's technology saying, right? Being able to make those changes, right? Anticipate them and prepare instead of being panic. Ask yourself the question, what's coming, and what do I need to do to prepare today? The next mindset, of course, that is very critical is the human-centered mindset, where we know that with AI now and so much advancement in technology, it's really having that human-centered mindset is more important than before, because who uses the technology? It's the humans, right? So we cannot just completely rely on the technology. We have to have, as leaders, be empathetic, right? Have empathy, have trust, right? Have that inclusion, right? And so being able to have those skills to be to understand that we're gonna see resistance even from the people that we lead, right? Being able to lead with empathy, to have curiosity, to understand where they're coming from, right? And make those decisions where you're wanting to put people first, even when the change is hard, right? You want to be able to ask yourself those questions. Am I making those decisions where I'm putting people first, even when change is hard? Right, so you do have a learning mindset that is also required, right? You want to also continue to learn and grow. Things are changing. You got to be able to learn to do even things that you've done before differently, right? As a future ready leader, you have to learn to be to unlearn and relearn some things that used to serve you. They no longer serve you, but they might be serving you in the future. You want to be able to relearn as the moment requires. So a question you can ask yourself is, when was the last time I let myself, learn something new? So you want to be able to embrace, that. Have the mindset where you're wanting to also embrace multiple perspectives. As a leader, you cannot assume that you have all the answers. It's not going to happen, right? You want to be able to ask yourself, who knows, who can I learn from, right? And who knows more than what I know at this time, and how can I equip myself to move forward, right? And so also, how do you then now cultivate that future ready mindset? I've talked a little bit about having that multiple perspectives, but I'm going to talk a little bit more in a few seconds, right? So schedule time to reflect weekly. Schedule time to plan your personal growth weekly. Have your schedule that, you're working on different things, but, have time on your schedule where you're learning something. Does that mean tuning into a podcast like this one, reading a book, attending a conference, being part of a community of practice? You want to be intentional about growing, right? Ask yourself, those questions. What am I doing to invest in myself? You can't, give from an empty cup. You got to continue to fill your own cup, right? Invite new voices to the table, right? Consider the diverse perspectives that I shared earlier on to help you to expand, your vision as well as include others, right? It helps you to sharpen your foresight. I always share about how you sharpening your saw, and who you're learning from matters, right? And embrace diverse perspectives, right? Different opinions, so you can always walk towards future readiness. Try to do things, learn new things. Try to develop your people, right? Be able to upskill, reskill. What is it that they need to learn? Many organizations that were resisting AI, now they're embracing it. What does your team need to learn about those skills to move forward? Take time to have those bold conversations. What's coming down the pike? What's hard, right? And how can you build readiness from the inside out? You want to be able to think about your own reflections, right? Reflect on where you are and how you can move forward. And this is now a little reflection challenge for you, since we're talking about reflection. So as we wrap up this episode, I want to invite you to reflect on this. Which of the mindsets do you already model well? What can you do to strengthen, those that are not modeling in the next 30 days? You don't have to do it all at once, right? Where can you start? Can you start today? Because becoming future ready starts with just a single shift that you need to make on your mindset. So I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. It's not really, remember that it's not really about having all the answers. It's about having that mindset to grow into them. So thank you once again for joining me on the Empowerment Minutes podcast this week. If this episode inspires you, if it resonates with you, please share it with another leader, another organization. Let's grow together and build the kind of leadership the future is asking for. Once again, this is Dr. Maurine Kwende, your host, signing off. Until next time, keep leading boldly with vision and purpose.